But there we go, guys. That is the WolfCut for 2022. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. If you are new, hit that subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to comment down below on what you think of today's video. Today's video is all about upgrading 2021's WolfCut. We're going to bring you a brand new version for 2022. Biggest questions that I've faced with all my videos of the WolfCut so far is, Paul, how do you do it if you've got already got bangs? How do you do it if you've already got a fringe? How do you do it if you've already got layers? How do you do this? How do you do that? So I'm going to be showing you exactly how to do it, and go to your hairdresser and show them exactly what you want for 2022 as the biggest haircut for 2022. Let's get into it. So we're going to be using this beautiful mannequin head that I coloured for a Joico takeover. This is inspired by Sex on the Beach, the cocktail Sex on the Beach, with the dark red grenadine root into that real sort of oranged off yellow ends. So it's already got a little bit of a fringe in there, it's already got a bit of texture in there, but we're going to be bringing you a brand new version of the WolfCut for 2022. Let me know in the comments right now what you think about this haircut. Are you excited? Is it something that you've wanted to rock for so long but you didn't think you could because you've already got fringes, you've already got layers, you don't know what to do, you don't know how to ask your hairdresser? So I'm going to be showing you exactly what you want to be going to the salon for 2022. I've got a lot of other trend videos coming soon. We've got another Bixie, which is a cross between a pixie and a bob. We've got the Chanel bob. The Chanel bob is one of the hotly anticipated haircuts for 2022 also. But I do think the WolfCut has got its place. The shag, the mullet are sort of dying out, but the WolfCut is staying very, very strong. And I want to just give it a bit of a facelift, a bit of an upgrade for 2022. So I basically want to do it in as little sections as possible, just so we're not overcomplicating things. I'm not one of those hairdressers that will put millions of sections into a haircut to get a similar result as you could with 2 or 3 sections. So this section is going to have this haircut is going to have 3 sections. That's it, 3 sections. We've already got the fringe, so we're going to be refining that after. We're going to be disconnecting this top layer, this top piece of the hair, so it's really short. We're going to be looking at a lot more shortness in here, so we can really sort of get a lot of movement in there and get a lot of texture and lift. And then we're going to be working through these sort of exterior parts where we're going to be taking off the old wispy ends that a lot of us have got. If you haven't been to a hair salon pre-COVID, post-COVID, you're going to have these ends like my mannequin's got that need taking off. So we're going to be taking off all of those, and we're going to be taking them off straight up. So a vertical section and a vertical cut, and we're going to be taking that off. And what that's going to give us is it will take off some length, but it's also going to take off the bulk of that haircut. So it's going to leave us with that piece will drop, and you can see how they will drop in there. So it's going to give us a really shattered exterior perimeter. So I'm going to wet this down, I'm going to get it pre-sectioned, and I'll be back. So I want to be starting off with just a middle section, just on the top of the head. High point of the head is where I've started from, and I just want to separate and isolate that fringe area. So it's already got a bit of a fringe, a bit of overhang here, but where I'm taking that to is about 2 inches back into the head, and then we're just taking that down. You can see where my comb is just the corner of that eye. That's where we want that section to be. Same on this side. So if we aim for the corner of the eye again, we should know that we have our section or our fringe isolated perfectly. So again, 2 inches back, that down there, and you can see that just touches the corner of the eye. So that is going to be isolated through there. And this is one of the biggest questions that I get asked about the WolfCut is, what about if I've already got a fringe? Fear not, I'm here. So that's the fringe just isolated. There's one section. Next section is going to be from that point there, and we're going to come right back to just behind the crown. So if we bring that from there, just twist that out of the way. So I've already drawn that section. I'm just going to, just for ease, get a pintail, pop it right on the back of that crown, finger there, and then this is easy. There we go, straight through. Here's our second section. I'll show you. It's a bit like a mohawk, but I do love this colour. This is going to look so good because the colour's disconnected as well. we're going to get a lot of movement in there. So just clipping that out of the way. Right, 3 sections, that's it. We've got the fringe, we've got the disconnected piece, and then this bulk of the section underneath here. So now where we want to start on this underneath section. So we've got our fringe isolated, we've got this top section through there as you can see, and then we're going to start with this underneath section. So where should we start? Where that point comes to, we'll draw a section straight down there and then just comb that to the side. We're going to comb straight down again through there, and then I'm going to use my length as my guide because I don't want to lose too much. I think wolf cuts look great when they're still quite long, quite like sort of shoulder length, but you're creating loads of disconnection in between. That's what we want to do today. 2021's version was all about sort of bulkiness and that wolf sort of mane where it's sort of come quite triangular. This is going to be on those lines, but we're going to create a lot more texture on the bulk of the hair. So what we're going to do, we're going to pull straight out. If you see my length, actually, let's go a little bit shorter, because that's not going to take too much off then, but it will at the sides. Yeah, stick to your game plan, Paul. We're going to stick to that game plan where I'm going to use the length as my guide. We're going to pull straight out. So there's my length, and then we're just going to cut straight up to the ceiling. There's my guide. We're taking a fair bit of hair off there as well. And this is going to be a moving guide. So what that means is I take my next section, and our previous section, which is now our guide, is then going to be pulled over to this section, but we're still going to be pulling straight out from the head. So we're going to see our guide. We've also got our length as our guide, but there's our nice strong guide there. There's our next section. Again, next section, our first section now, we can forget about it, because our second section is now going to be our guide. And that is what we're going to work on around all of the head. So let's pull it straight out from the head. So each section, new section, is coming straight out from the head, but our previous guide is sort of just over directing slightly, so it gives us a guide to cut to. Now you can see that guide travels down slightly. That is why I then sort of get my fingers in a position again where we can have the tension, and we're just lifting it up. But you can see that nice square line there. Again, our second section we throw out, and our third section becomes our guide. These sections are getting quite big now, so you'll probably have to do it in two, but I'm just going to grab all of the hair. We want to make sure we're getting that, because there's our length guide. There's our guide there. And then again, because that hair was travelling down slightly, we want to readjust, find our guide, and make sure that's coming straight out from the head. There we go. Now we're creating a lot more texture in there. Next section, we're going to do exactly the same. Get rid of section number 3. Now section number 4 is our guide, and so on and so on. So I'm going to fly through this, and we'll reconvene when we get to the other side. So now we're coming to the sides. We're doing exactly the same. So I'm just forgetting the previous guide, sorry, and we're bringing in that fresh guide into where we're cutting. So still straight out from the head, we should see our guide appear. We've got a nice strong guide there, straight out from the head. And then we get up into this sort of where the parietal ridge is, we're sort of taking about 1 inch off. So this is going to give us a nice bit of texture through that bottom. Now we're on the front part of the head, around the temples. Got a nice strong guide there. Taking that off. You can already see there's a lot more sort of lived in texture through there. Now let's start on the other side. So we're just going to follow through as we did. We're going to take our first section, which was our guide. We're then going to throw all of this left-hand side out of the way. We're going to bring in our new section. Throw that out of the way there. Now we used our length as our guide, but we've also got a really good guide in the previous section that we put in. So I'm just going to comb that there. And also, for 2022 WolfCut, I think they need to be worn, these sort of colours, the Vivids. I think we need to be uprating everything. I think the colours need to change. Right, where's our guide? There's our guide, nice strong guide. There's our length. And remember, because that hair's travelling down slightly, we're just going to pull that out. See our guide? And take that off. So exactly how we did the other side. I'm going to follow this all the way through, and I'll reconvene when we get to this top. So apologies if the audio was poor for the first half of this. This kept on getting caught in my pocket. So I've just popped it there. What we've done is we've just done around both sides, which is coming straight out from the head, moving guide all the way around to give this sort of freedom texture that's living in this hair, lived in texture. And the reason I want to do that is I want to just sort of bring the WolfCut up to date. I want there to be a lot more texture in there around the sort of perimeter. With WolfCuts, you found a lot of the heaviness sort of sitting there, and there was a bit of freedom around here, but I wanted just to bring it bang up to date with 2022 and give us something a little bit different, a little bit more lived in texture. But where it's going to really change is on here as well, because this is where all of this textures live in. Now we're going to disconnect this completely. And when we talk about disconnecting this completely, I want there still to be some texture around this front, but I'm going to take away a lot of this bulk around the back. So I could, if I was looking at just wanting to cut it in one, I could bring this all back here, over direct, and we could take that, so then this will stay longer, but we're not going to do that today. If you want to see that in another video where I can just be taking sections and over directing back and elevating and taking off to show you what it does, let me know in the comments down below. But what we are going to do, I'm just going to clip these underneath sections out of the way so I don't pull any of them up. And then what we are going to do, we're going to find a length that we're happy with, and it's going to be all over directed back. But what we're going to do, so if you've seen me do the long grad recipe, normally from the fringe, we'll work up that way. So this would be like the nose, we'd find a point at the nose, and then we'd cut up. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to find the occipital bone, which is that bump on the back of our heads, and I'm going to pull that down to the occipital bone. And you can see how disconnected that's going to be. The shortest layer there is there. This one's going to sit there. But then what we're going to do is we're going to have this through here as our original guide. I'm going to cut from short to long. So let's pull this down. Find the occipital bone. find that again. There. So that's how much we've cut off. And there's our layer. There. So I'm just going to soften it off because I cut that quite hard. There. And then what I'm going to do, so I'm going to run a middle section straight the way through this top piece just to open it up, and then we're going to put in a central guide. So here's our guide. That is literally running through that sort of mohawk section I started with. We're going to find our guide that we just put in there. We put in a occipital bone. So if you can see that guide just at my thumb. What we're going to do is we're going to use a 45-degree angle that way, but then also a 45-degree angle there. And I'm just going to cut from short to long. Because what this is going to do, because we've angled it backwards, and I'm just going to soften off through there. We're going to have shortness through here, but then as we get to the front, like the WolfCuts, we're going to have a lot more length around the face. And then all we're going to do is we're going to pick up either side of this section that we put in. So we say here, and then this is going to just follow that same length. So 45-degree angle, 45-degree fingers, and then this has just come over to meet that section or that guide that we just put in. And I'm just point cutting that because it will just soften it off through there. So we're not left with a sort of a hard layer sitting over the head. And then there's a little bit more here to bring in. And then again, you can see that long bit there. I'm going to create that 45-degree. And just soften that off. And that's going to sit over the top of this. And then we grab this side of that sort of mohawk section that we put in, that top section, like that V. And then this, we'll just take our section again, our first guide, sorry. And then we'll push this over. So similar to what we did at the back, where we had that 45-degree angle. So I'm just going to pull a middle guide down. I'm just going to section that out there. And then we pull this down. Just section that out there. And then you guys all ready with a fringe? How is this going to be cut? We're going to use the fringe as our guide. So the shortest part of our fringe that you can see there by my thumb. We're then going to have that 45-degree, and we're just going to go back to there. Now the rest of the fringe, or the rest of the front, like we did at the back, we're just going to push that up into the middle, and we're going to use the guide, point cutting in, so you can see what I've done there is just push that up into the middle. Take that middle section again. And then we're going to push, or pull, sorry, pull this up into the middle. Just give you a view so you can see where that's over directing to. So we're going to elevate and over direct up into that middle. And we just find the guide, which is there. And again, done. So then what you'll see from that, you'll see it shorter in that middle as it gets longer towards the sides. And this is also what's going to blend in with those layers that we put in, that disconnected layer on the top. that's going to sit around there. So it's going to create a lot of weight around that face, but that's what we want from the WolfCut. But we've also just upgraded it by adding a lot more disconnection around that crown. So I'm going to get this dry, get it styled, and then you better see the finished result of the WolfCut 2022. So here it is, unrefined, unstraightened. This is just a bit of a wrap dry on the root, but I wanted to show you this sort of texture that's been left in there. What I'll do is I'll smooth it through. I just want to show you also that disconnected layer that we put in there, completely disconnected, almost hidden. Just adds that sort of look. I mean, look at all that volume we're able to create. I mean, look at that. I know the colour adds to it as well. But what I love about this is this added dimension to this shortness through here. It does look really sort of rock and roll, but then we've kept all of the bulk through this sort of mid-leps and ends where we can either curl, we can straighten this and add curl or diffuse. But look at that. Right, let's get some straighteners through there. I'll refine it, which will just blend it in a little bit more, because I know this is disconnected, so I think we will want a little bit of connection, but not too much. I mean, once I've smoothed it, I might not want any connection, because I really like how that sort of root area is lifted up through there, and it sort of gives you the ability just to work your hands through and create loads of texture. I mean, I love that. And you still get all of that length in there. Cool, right. I'll smooth through and then we'll refine and then I'll give you the finished result. Right guys, so there it is. It is all smooth. And what we've got to do now is just got to refine. And you can see, hopefully, so we've got to refine all of the perimeter. So that was just taken straight out. We haven't actually put the length in yet, which we're going to do in a minute. But that layer that's completely disconnected, you can't really see it, and only because of the disconnection in colour. But that adds a whole new dimension to it. You can see that texture it gives you up there. So let's start refining. And what we're going to do is, I'm not going to bang in a sort of like a square line at the bottom. I'm just basically going to refine and just soften it all off, because the WolfCut is a soft haircut. There's a lot of texture in there. So where we'll start is, we'll start with our layer that we put in, and I'm just going to chip in. I know we cut this point cut, so there won't be much needed, but I'll just chip into that. And then what that will do is just soften off. You can see there, I'm not going to touch this, but I'm just going to soften off all in there, and that will also give a little bit of sort of scaffolding, a little bit more deeper point cutting. And then what that will do is it will just soften, but also add a bit more texture in there. So you can see the disconnection there, through there. So I'm just going to work through this top section, softening all off, but also giving it a bit more lift as well. And wherever these long pieces are, I'm just going to leave. I'm just working through, just lifting up fine little pieces of this top section, because what I want to do, see there's disconnection there, drop that, and really deep point cut into there, just to remove any sort of bulk, but to soften, and it will just add a little sort of plumpness as well to it. I'll work on the fringe after, but what I want to do now is I want to work from this front section there. You can see that square line. I'll stand here, you get to see. Get that square line there. And what I want to do is I'm just going to really open all of that up, because it was cut blunt. Just let it fall, it just sits a lot softer. Again, it's a really hard blunt line there. Not affecting the length, but wherever I see sort of thickness and bulkiness to the hair, like in there, I'll just deep point cut into there, because what that will do is just loosen it all off. And you won't be left with sort of heavy lines in the hair. Again, and this is one of the things that I find with refining. It's one of the things that you don't really get taught at college, unless you're doing an apprenticeship in a salon. Refining is where people class themselves as like a creative cutter. I think that's the refining process, and I think that's why creative cutting courses are so sought after, because you see these sort of bobs and all of these haircuts that are sitting pristine, and you've got all these learners like, well, why doesn't mine sit like that? And it's because you've never been taught it. But you can see there now, still nice and frayed like we want it to be, but just a bit more blending. And we come to this back section. You'll still see that blunt line through there. So the bottom's already frayed enough, but there's a bit of sort of fullness in there I want to soften off. And again, just at this top, so I'm just going to go into there, and then we're just going to follow that all the way around the head, finding these weight points that we want to soften off. And if we wanted to blend in that layer that we put in there, that disconnection, we could just soften that off that way, or we could work the other way, but I want to leave it. Because I think disconnection, you can see all of that weight in there, not so much down this bottom area, but right in the bulk of that hair there. We really soften that off, and going really deep into there is also going to give a bit of a lift in there as well. Again, looking for a square line, which is there. It's not actually too bad there. Again, square line, bit bulky up there. And I'm just going in sort of horizontal with the section. I don't want to be going in at any angle, because I don't want to be removing length. I just want to be creating texture and softness. And the last section at this front, if we pull it out, it's not too bad. A little bit weighty, just there. So I've just gone in there and softened all of that off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to freehand just this bottom off, just to take off any unevenness to it. And then where we have, you can see, got the length there, and it just follows through there. So I'll just freehand that into there, so there's a bit of connection. And again on this side, so you can see, got the length there. Just freehand that in. So now I've got that WolfCut sitting nice and symmetrical. I've just loosened it all up, and you can see how that layer just melts in to the rest of it. But as soon as we get some product in there or a bit of movement, we can start creating volume, like the fringe. So we're going to pull it out where we were, and I'm just going to really deep point cut this. I want to really shatter it. Don't want to take off length where we're not working from. But remember, you do want to be sort of pushing it across slightly or pulling it across if we're working this side, because you don't want to be taking off that shape that you put into the fringe. Let's just get rid of that long piece, doesn't live there. And again, there. So there is the upgraded WolfCut for 2022. Really nice and smooth, sort of tapering out a little bit thinner down here. So if you guys have got thinner hair, this is something you can do to create that volume as well by disconnecting this top piece. Not too much, but your hairdresser will sort of give you some advice on how much to disconnect. It might just be like a little diamond through this top piece to get you that lift, but we've got that shape. And if we just get our fingers in there and start to expose that shorter layer, and all I'm doing is sort of massaging the scalp, and it just starts to open up to give you that texture in that hair. But I think that fringe is sitting banging. We can open up this a little bit. It's all just fingers and thumbs when it comes to sort of placing. There's no product really in it. I've put some Joico luster lock in there just to protect with the blow drying for heat protection. But look at that. And you can see from that back angle, it just blends in. That layer that we took shorter just blends in perfectly to give us that bit of texture. But there we go. What do we think to the WolfCut for 2022? So the reason it's different is the colour for one. I think we should be embracing a big colour change for 2022. I think we should be disconnecting a lot more to create volume and texture and sort of lived in sort of look. And then smoother. The WolfCut for 2021 was all about sort of big and like natural texture in the hair and a lot of sort of bulkiness. I've just streamlined it just to give people who have got finer hair, medium hair, just a bit of a chance to sort of jump on this bang on trend. But I absolutely love that. I love how that sort of top layer just sits there and adds that bulkiness to it without actually having to do too much. What do we think? Are we loving it? And look, let's have a look at that back section. Just exposing that there. Keeping all that length, but we're adding that texture and volume through there. I just love that. But there we go, guys. That is the WolfCut for 2022. So thank you so much for watching these videos. 2022 is going to be going off when it comes to content. I have all behind me. If you want to see a studio tour, let me know, because I've done this up. This is a whole new sort of backdrop that I put up last week. I've got multiple cameras running now, so I'm hopefully bringing you some really engaging content when it comes to my content, my videos, my education videos. But yeah, let me know if you want to see a studio tour. I'll show you a studio tour. If you want me to carry on with these videos to show you haircut trends, how you can do them, let me know. But yeah, 2022, just so you know as well, you can book me in Salon for cut and colour training. Colour training, go through Joico Europe. Cutting training, you can come through me direct. I'll be going to Salons. I've already got a lot of bookings for 2022 already, all over the country, to show off some trend cuts and colour work. Got a lot of Joico stuff coming soon, and something else which is in the pipeline, which will be coming soon. So yeah, I look forward to sharing it all with you. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for joining me. But again, if you're new, hit that subscribe button, give the video a thumb up, and comment down below what you think to this look. Love it. Right, I'll see you guys on the next video.